Well, Ethel Cain has finally found herself in the center of a controversy. I'm going to go over the screenshots that resurfaced and an allegation regarding her current, I believe, boyfriend. And we're just going to go over everything objectively, including what has come to light and Hayden's response. And then I'll just give my 2 cents. This might be a lengthy video, so buckle up. Sit back and relax. Grab a snack, if you will. So I first learned about this through a TikTok mentioning an shirt and the discourse around that. As you can see, Ethel made a shirt that says legalize and I would hope I don't need to explain why that's insane and wrong, but I will anyway. It's sort of normalized for people to joke about incest. You've most likely heard the jabs, most often directed toward regressionists and Republicans. You look like your dad is also your uncle. Stuff like that. The reality is, most cases of incest, as far as I know, happen not only without consent, but to children. CSA is a very real and much too prevalent problem, and more often than not, the perpetrator is someone the child knows, like a family member. I can't go into detail about how disgusting and traumatizing that is as someone who isn't a victim of it, but I listen to victims when they say this is incredibly disrespectful to them and should not be taken lightly. I saw another TikTok discussing the shirt as well, and it started to click that something was going on. I've followed Ethel Cain for a few years now, and wearing that kind of shirt today didn't really seem like something she would do. So when I got a DM that old posts had come to light, it all made sense. But I'll dissect that later. The DM I received was how I learned about the rest of it. When she was younger, like 19, I think she said, she made racist posts and admitted to using the N-word on her curious cat. Lastly, and I haven't really seen anyone talk about this one aside from the person who DM'd me, I found this post on Reddit that has since been archived. What I'm about to read is all alleged. Remember, this is a random post from a random account on Reddit, but it is still worth noting. Having no way to prove the validity of a statement doesn't make it false, but just to be on the safe side, alleged. I've been with Ethel Cain's current boyfriend. He's not a good guy. I'm not sure how to go about this considering I don't know Ethel personally. I figure this may be the best option as far as getting to her. I met her boyfriend in 2021 and I know his name, but for the sake of her privacy, I won't be sharing it. We met in New Orleans when I was going to undergrad there and we ended up meeting a few times and hooking up. During the hookup, he kept saying he was going to, I don't know if I can say this here, kill me. And then after he unconsensually showed me photos/videos of him and his ex-partners having sex, to which I informed his ex once I got home, and she had no idea he even had them still. I don't know what's the best thing to do in this matter, and I frankly may delete this and just try to find a better way to approach this, but I just have a hard time believing people like him can change. And I am in full agreement with that. If you are like a sexual predator in any form, you're pretty much dead to me forever, because that's evil. There's a difference between just being an asshole and being straight up evil and actually causing that kind of harm. So, f you, Ethel Cain's boyfriend, if it's true. Hayden, which is Ethel Cain's real name, took to Instagram to link to an apology post. Whether it can actually be called an apology is up for debate, and explain her behavior and why this is all suddenly seeing the light of day. So here it is. This is a long one, so I'm just gonna put the screenshots up on screen. You can pause if you would like to read them, but the video would be way too long if I sat and read the whole thing. I'm sorry. After everything has been laid out on the table, I'm going to pick it apart in the order that everything was covered. So she starts by noting that she was 19 when she posted the racist stuff we are now seeing, and she posted this after being progressive to combat the bigoted environment she grew up in and fell right back into. I'm going to be frank, I'm more surprised at the fact that she was apparently progressive in her teens prior to the racism. The reality is, she is a white woman in the United States and grew up around Bible thumpers. They are notoriously an incredibly hateful group of people. Literally, look at America right now. If this offends you, I mean, look at the facts, look at history. That's life, baby. People historically have used Christianity and Catholicism for violence and hatred and oppression. And before anyone is like, what about the other religions? I'm not talking about other religions because it's not other religions that have made life hell in the States. Maybe it's the fact that I just expect this from this demographic, or the fact that this shit is nearly a decade old, but I'm not personally that moved. I feel very jaded toward some of this. Is it disappointing? It was for a moment, you know, especially as a black biracial fan of hers. But at this point, it's genuinely just so unsurprising. Like, disappointingly unsurprising, because it's so freaking common. It's just like, at this point, it's just like, of course. And I'm just too tired to hold on to these things that people used to say. That's also a big factor into why I feel so jaded. If it was a month ago, you know, it'd be like, well, okay, bye, girl. I'm giving away my merch and unfollowing you, and you're dead to me forever. But this was 8 years ago. And don't mistake this as defense or justification. And absolutely don't think this is a safe place for you. If you're one of the non-black fans telling the black ones who are hurt by this that they're just being too sensitive and need to get over it, and hardcore defending her. You yourself are anti-black if you are going to be insensitive to the racism that we face. To be blunt, you can get fucked. There is a nuance here that people always ignore when stuff like this happens. If it's more than a year or two old and the person hasn't displayed the same behavior, what makes you think they're actively still that person? They could be hiding it, sure, but that's a big assumption and accusation to make without a lick of proof. And this always irritates me when this happens, because internet liberals will see old posts of problematic and bigoted language and refuse to let people grow. What do you mean you're holding it against someone a decade later that they said something offensive in the past? People will always use the excuse, oh, well, she was 19 and she was old enough to know better. Yeah, she said that too. But she isn't 19 posting this stuff anymore. You cannot demand perfection and then refuse to let people try and achieve it. You gotta pick one. And that is what always upsets me about people digging through someone's past with incredibly obvious, mind you, bad intentions. They know people are so easily manipulated and will fall for rage bait without using discernment or critical thinking. And let me clarify here. Me saying this doesn't mean you don't have a right to be mad. I personally just find it strange to hold it against someone when, as far as we know, they have shown that they have evolved past it. You can be mad, but to claim that she's this giant piece of shit because of something she said as a kid, it will always be weird to me no matter who we're talking about, and most likely no one's ever going to change my mind on that. You can be upset and hold someone accountable without villainizing them for something, within reason. Like I said, if you're a sexual predator, that's outside the realm of reason. It's way in the past. Racism is something learned, and it can be unlearned. My script. Now, if you assaulted or killed someone, and it's especially coming from the same demographic who will hold someone's, most of the time as strangers, head underwater for a mindset they've abandoned and moved on from, but will continue to speak to their currently fascist family members. Have you cut off your grandma who's a Trumpy yet? That bugs the hell out of me too. Like, in one comment section, you'll see someone say, you know, pitchforks throwing tomatoes and stones and throw her into the volcano. And in the other, every time I talk to my mom, she's so defensive of Trump and this administration. It's very interesting. So very interesting. Yeah, we should all be respectful and empathetic and not little assholes, but that simply isn't how the real world works. So now what? You either want people to be better or you want to never let them evolve. You cannot have it both ways. She says there's no excuse. She is white. She knows this was harmful and she is ashamed that she was ever like this. I thought that was fine. People took issue with the fact that holding herself accountable was a small section of this post, while most of it focused on emphasizing that she's a victim here. My friend who DM'd me said it's like every single time a white woman gets called out and they self-victimize, and I can totally see that. She should have put more focus on actually being apologetic, and that will naturally come off to people that she wasn't actually that sorry. But again, there is a nuance here, and we can't ignore that attacks like this are never done because someone actually cares about the groups she mistreated. This has happened on the internet for years. Ancient texts resurface because of obsessive haters with the intent to destroy someone's image, career, and life. It rarely works out that way, but it sure is annoying when it's going viral because, like I said, people are so easy to manipulate and fall for the rage bait every single time. The reality is, she is a trans woman living in the States. This is a transphobic attack. She is also pulling the white woman victim card. Both things can be true at once. Nuance. I implore you to open your mind to it. Reiterating here that there isn't much I feel I can say on the topic of incest as someone who isn't a victim. I cannot forgive her for this because it isn't my place, but as I was reading through it, it did feel like she glossed over actually apologizing to victims of incest. This part mostly felt like explanation, and I also can't decide whether that's inherently bad or not. If victims want to forgive her or not, they are valid for that. I just thought this section felt kind of flat. On the topic of fetishizing trauma and drawing child CP. I saw people on TikTok saying this, and I'm gonna be honest, I thought it was gross and just looking for any reason to demonize her. People will see a take and just run with it and regurgitate it everywhere. I've followed Hayden, as I said, for a few years now. I've done my deep dives on the Preacher's Daughter album and some of its inspiration, so I already knew that much of the abuse in Ethel's story, most notably the sexual abuse, was inspired by what Hayden had actually experienced in her life. I believe she said she was sexually exploited as a child, and in this apology, she shares that she was raped before she made the drawings people were attacking her for. A victim responding to her own trauma or making art of it is not fetishization, and trying to claim such is just absurd. I don't really know what else to say about that. I don't even want to touch on the fact that people were trying to accuse her of bestiality because I think it's stupid as shit. Grasping at straws. Like, I hope you stretched before this reach. Being naked around an animal is not bestiality. Is this seriously what we're worried about right now? Have you ever peed and left the door open and your pet wandered in? Have you ever gotten changed in front of your pet? Yeah, be for real. The missing poster of an actual real-life child. I already knew about this as well, but I think this is the first time I've seen her actually address it. Yeah, I can see why that would be insensitive. If it were me, I wouldn't want to see the missing poster for someone I loved used for someone's music career without the family's permission, and especially when the art in question has fuck all to do with the loved one. I think this was just a stupid, careless mistake, but it seems like she understands that. Again, not something I can personally forgive her for because I'm not the family of the child, so take that for what it is. Regarding the claim that she fetishizes womanhood and the abuse women face, I think she hit the nail on the head with that one. I can speak on this one. As a woman, trying to apply that she hasn't faced harm and doesn't understand the female experience because she's a trans woman is just blatant transphobia, and I don't even want to entertain it, so we're leaving it at that. Fuck that take. What bothers me the most out of all of this is the boyfriend thing. If he is actually a creep and she supports him completely, that's a problem, girl. Willingly dating someone who secretly records with partners and then releases the videos without knowledge or consent is batshit insane. If it's true, choosing to align yourself with someone like that speaks volumes of your character, but this is another thing that unfortunately I find unsurprising. Once again, for her demographic. I'm sorry, guys. Women who are attracted to men who do not decenter men will stick by a man through anything. We see it literally all the time, and I just do not understand it. And I personally don't think those women are safe to be around, whether they're cis or trans. Again, I think she could have emphasized being sorrowful a bit more, but as far as explaining her behavior and why it was wrong, aside from the incest section, this overall seems fine to me. She told you what what happened and what she was being accused of, while also acknowledging that some of it was rather ridiculous and people were falling for it because that's just how people on the internet are. I'm gonna be honest. I was also a little shit on the internet when I was younger. I am very obviously no longer like that. If it were me, yeah, I would be pissed that someone was, again, so transparently just trying to ruin my life when I know damn well I put in a lot of work and years to grow from being a bratty little asshole. And I would want people to understand that they are giving the attacker exactly what they want. Not justice for being offensive, but the satisfaction of watching someone they hate get doxxed and harassed. And I think maybe that's why she put too much focus on explaining. It's emotional and personal to her, and it's no doubt frustrating as all hell to watch people willingly walk into the trap. So, to finish it all off, you are allowed to be upset. You are allowed to feel betrayed. Stop listening to her music if you want to. Black fans, you do not have to forgive her for this. White fans, mind your business about the racism. Victims of you don't have to forgive her. But be aware that people can drastically change over the course of 8 years. There's a difference between simply not forgiving and not allowing someone to change. I think the and the allegations against the boyfriend are mad weird, and we'll see how that unfolds. Be respectful in the comments. I don't do the defensive or accusatory stuff over here. We can have a civil conversation or even a light debate, but there won't be any fighting here. Aggressors or people who just blindly defend celebrities will see their comments deleted.